Do you think that it takes some strength to like carry a child for 8-9 months?
Um, Not that much, but yeah, sure. Yeah, humans are strong, but in relation to a man, it's nothing to what he endures in his life.
Before modern medicine, what was infant mortality like? What was childbirth like? Did a lot of people die in childbirth?
Yeah,
Seems
it's
like
extremely dangerous.
yeah, it's dangerous. It takes a lot of
Yeah,
strength to
wow.
get through that, right?
Yeah, a lot of these weak women died doing this thing that they're naturally created to do. They could barely handle it.
Seems like femininity needs a lot of strength too.
I'll tell you what, if men had wombs, they could do it better than women. We would be better at bearing children and delivering them than you are. But we don't have those. That's not the way that we are formed. That's not in our nature.
Let's bring on, I'm sure a lot of you already know her, but the property. Hello, Miss Stardust. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, for those who might not know you, why don't you introduce yourself and tell people where they can find you?
Sure. I'm Stardust. I am just your typical run-of-the-mill liberal, and a little bit of a feminist as well. You can find me on YouTube. My channel is Stardust. I believe it's /Stardust Streams, and then I'm also on Twitch as Stardust. So.
Alrighty. And now, Mr. Big Tech, how are you?
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. I'm fine. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. It's been going through. I've had a lot of tech issues that I have not been able to solve because we're in this whole thing now. So I'm just going to have to suffer with the tech issues. Sorry, guys, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. So I'll just have to figure it out after the stream's over. But yeah, introduce yourself to everybody and maybe where people can find you. I don't know if you have much of an online presence.
I'm Big Tech. My online presence is here on Cozy as a ancillary second or third tier random character. I appear on the kill stream. I call in and I super chat, and I mostly just like harass the people who I love on the internet. Yeah, awesome. For fun. I am a racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semite, and I'm here to argue that women belong to men and they are our property, rightfully under the natural law.
Alrighty, so here's what we're going to do. Each person can have an opening statement, can be as little as 1 minute, no longer than 5, about the topic and your stance. After that, we'll open up the floor. For those watching, if you have questions, you can send a super chat through the powerchat.live/politically provoked. We will read them at the end. So yeah, I will do closing statements and final thoughts after the questions. So why don't we get started with opening statements? Big Tech, why don't you get us going?
Okay. Opening statements. So we're talking about property. To set the groundwork for what we're talking about, property in the context of the law. So we're speaking in legal terms here. Legal property. So your property is that which you have the right to, and again, rights are a legal term. Rights under the law. Rights are ensured by those who uphold the law. So you have a right to own and keep the things that you do own and keep, the things that you have title to, because there is a framework of protection around those things. There are guarantees to keep others from stealing them, from harming them, from trespassing. Those things are all upheld by the keepers of the law. So these things all come from our martial heritage, where we have an army, we have enforcement, we have state power. Those are the places that we create law from. The ability to enforce law is what allows us to have law in the first place. Now, a little bit behind that is, as I just mentioned, it's power. So the power to enforce law creates the opportunity to have and uphold laws. And the reason why we can justify women being the property of men is because men have the power. We always have. It's our natural state. We can overpower women. On an individual level, this tends to be the case. And on a general level, this is absolutely the case. Men have dominion over women. Men can dominate women. We have dominion over our domain. These two words are related. We have a domicile. The domicile is the man's home. He has dominion over his home. The domain over which we have law is the domain that we rule. The ruling of the land, the ruling of the home, the ruling over your property is related to power. So men have power that women don't have naturally. So natural law dictates that men have dominion over women. The logical justification for men having rights over women is the fact that we have the power to subdue and to dominate them. It's literally just that simple. In our history, I don't know how long you want to give me in the opening debate, but I have more to say. Oh, the opening remark. So looking just a little bit into the past, into our recent heritage, before the feminization of our language, the feminization of our society, the stigmatization of male dominance, what we had was a relationship, an ancient tradition that we called marriage. In the marriage ceremony, speaking specifically in the Western tradition, because that's where we are, this is the domain of Western law. In Western law, in Western tradition, the way that it works in the ceremony is a perfect illustration of what I'm talking about. The illustration in the ceremony is that the man, the father of the woman, takes his daughter who belongs to him and bears the title of his last name. He walks her down the aisle before everyone else who is there to uphold and agree about this legal transaction that's about to occur. He meets the groom, and then he gives his daughter over to the groom, who then becomes his, transferring his legal name, his name of title onto her. She becomes legally his. In the same way that a child belongs to the father, an adult woman belongs to her father until he gives her away to another man in a legal transaction. That man becomes the new legal owner of that woman. Women have always been bought and sold. They've been given, they've been stolen. Women have always belonged to the men. It's only a recent conception that we've liberated women from this condition of being dominated, being owned, being subdued, being the property of the men. It's only in recent times, and there will be a disagreement between you and me. You already said that you're a typical run-of-the-mill liberal. The perspective on your side is that things are getting better because of this and in relation to this. My contention on my side will obviously be this has been a symptom of the decline. Things have become worse, and we've been sliding into hell the further we've been becoming more ambiguated away from the terms of natural law, the actual reality as it is. We've been trying to elevate women to a level of equality, to a level of equal rights under the law, but these won't work because they're a violation of the natural law. In nature, the man is over the woman in the human race. The men have the power. The women's only access to power is through the men. So their angle is always going to be to undermine, to confuse, to ambiguate, to try to steal and to weaken the man so that they can be then on a level playing field with the men. The only way to become equal with a man as a woman is to weaken the man. But when men are right, when they're strong, when they're in their natural state, they do have the power that women don't have. So that's my justification. And I want to talk about the marriage ceremony itself going forward. And then I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Stardust.
Okay, thanks. All right, go ahead, Stardust.
Okay. So I'll get started with the founding of America. In March 31st, 1776, future First Lady Abigail Adams made a plea to her husband and founding father, John Adams, and the Continental Congress to remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation. What was she talking about? Coverture. Coverture is a long-standing legal practice that held that no female person had a legal identity. At birth, a female baby was covered by her father's identity, and then when she married, by her husband's. So what did this mean when a woman had no legal identity and was seen as part of a father or a husband's identity? What were the results of this? Women had limited rights to own property and act independently, were considered subservient to their husbands, but even middle-age legal systems never considered women property. Despite women still being seen as humans and not property, we have the following facts. Marital rape wasn't a crime until the 1980s. Women weren't allowed on juries until the 1960s, and women weren't allowed to vote until 1920. Today, we've come a long way from our previous attitudes towards women. Women are able to work, own property, and exercise their own bodily autonomy, whether they are married or not. Women are able to participate in one of the most important parts of the democracy, voting, and able to serve in the army as well if they choose to. My opponent wants to do more than just turn back the clock. He wants to reinvent history. The truth is that leaving the workforce hurts women. Stay-at-home moms are more likely to be depressed, isolated, and economically vulnerable, and men have shown time and time again that they fail to step up in the home, and their wives end up picking up the slack in the home while juggling their jobs. Why would you look to cut out half of your workforce, remove effective cultural and social approaches to keeping the economy running, make men less happy, deliver worse outcomes for children, and live in a society where all the high-value women are looking to leave? The final solution for women, what my opponent advocates, would allow marital rape, physical abuse, and plenty of other heinous things to be allowed to be used against women. But not just that, my opponent wants to go even further than coverture. He advocates that women should be property. What else would be allowed when women are property? Are we advocating for state-assigned wives? Sale of child babies for breeding? Can property under age of 18 consent?
Are those questions for me?
Yes.
Okay. You said the word coverture, and everything else you said is wrong. And here's why. First of all, your children are your property, are they not?
You're their guardians. And yeah, in a sense, I guess they're kind of your property. Sure.
In a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking in that sense, the woman is also my property. Now, can I just rape my children? Is that allowed? Is that legal?
I mean, under
is
coverture,
it legally?
women were able to be raped. So,
no, I'm asking you: is it lawful for me to rape a child that is my property?
A child is still afforded the rights.
No,
of a
the
human
answer is
being.
no. Just say no. Of course, right? And so is a woman. A woman is still a human being. She's a human property. So that doesn't mean that I can rape her, kill her, dispose of her, treat her unbecoming of that which a human is to be treated, but it's about authority. It's not about freedom and license to do as I please. We have limitations to what we can do with our property. I can't set fire to my own home without getting in trouble. I can't even have a fire on my property without having a license to do so by the authorities. Otherwise, I can receive a fine. That's my property, but a burn permit is still required if I want to clear off some weeds. And the reason why is because the actions that I take with my own property affect the others who are in the land. Like legally, there's two types of property. We have real estate and personal property. Real estate, meaning royal estate, this is the land that's owned by the royal authority, and you have title to be on that land as long as you pay your taxes. That's what real estate is. So everything that is that land and is like built upon it and attached to it, that's real estate. Everything else is personal property. That's going to be my bicycle. That's going to be my car. It's going to be my refrigerator. That's going to be my pets. That's going to be my children. And that's going to be my wife. Those are my personal
Your
property as
children
a
and your
man.
wife are not your personal property.
They are.
They're
Yeah, they
they're
are.
not the sentient human beings are not under the same category as personal property.
Up until certain things changed, which first we freed the slaves, and then we gave slaves the right to vote, and then we gave women the right to vote, because slavery was implicit in marriage. A wife is to a husband. Let's examine the word. What does husband mean? It's a term used in agriculture in relation to a man taking care of animals. It's called animal husbandry. When you're looking after your cattle, when you're looking after a sheep or a goat or a cow or a horse, this is husbandry. And so when the bride, which I mean, which is also an equestrian term, you put the bridle in the horse, it's referring to like a rope. It's something that's tied down, a braid. The bride who is lashed like a pet, like a cattle, like something that you own. It's like livestock. When that bride is brought to the groom, again, when you groom an animal, when you clean it, when you brush it, you're grooming, you're bringing it up into maturity. The husband grooms the bride. That's why he's the husband or the groom and the bride. These terms are related to the fact that the man is over the woman. She belongs to him. She's being bought with a dowry, a gift either from the father to the groom. Here, please, I'll pay you to take my daughter into your good family and join ours together, or from the groom to the bride. Hey, I'll buy that beautiful, good woman off of you. She belongs to the father, and then she becomes belonging to the husband. This has always been the way. It wasn't even needed to be explicitly stated in the law. It was just understood. Women are humans, but they are secondary humans to the men. The men are the fulfillment of humanity. A woman is like a retarded version of a man. So you are under me like a child. So just as my children are under me, the children belong to me. The woman belongs to her father until she belongs to the man. There's no time in between where she doesn't belong to someone. This is the myth of women's liberation. It's a myth. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It's just like a fiction that we're living out right now. It's destroying everything. And we've given women the right to vote. I mean, we can go down that road, all the things that it's robbing from us. But again, looking at the history from coverture, we overthrew slavery and gave blacks who were savages from Africa that we stole them and brought them here, and we gave them rights to vote before we gave it to you. It's because we understand. Like, they are a captive from Africa who was brought up in slavery and wasn't taught to read. We were more concerned with giving that person rights than to our wives, because we understood. It was always understood. Women are children, and the children belong to their fathers.
Okay, so it's not clear that women have ever been property in the way that slaves have been property. They were clearly separated even by Romans, and like Romans considered women better than or higher than slaves. And practices like dowries were about providing a woman with an inheritance when she couldn't own property. It's never been that she herself was property. She's not able to own property because, yes, you're right, women were secondary, but that is completely different from being property. It's completely different from being livestock. When somebody is seen as livestock, you are allowed to do anything that you want to that person.
That's not true either. That's not true either. Are there animal cruelty laws? Do they exist? Can you just be cruel to animals?
I mean, people in the agriculture industry slaughter tons of animals every day in really cruel ways.
But are there not rules by which they have to adhere?
I'm not sure. Are there?
Yeah, there are. And can I just treat my dog any which way that I like without running into issues with the law, depending on the jurisdiction?
It
Are there
depends on the
not some
state.
places where, right, so they can limit me in the way that I behave in relationship to my animals, my pets, and my livestock?
So,
in the same way, the government, the state, can limit a husband to treating his wife in the way that a wife should be treated. In the same way that he's limited to treating his children in the way that children need to be treated. Because the wife and the children, these are still members of the society. These are still citizens. These are still people that are coming up to be part of the nation.
Property
the nation
can't
is
be a
the
citizen.
family at large.
If property cannot
Why?
be a citizen. It's
Why?
either somebody is property or they're not.
That's not true.
Being a
No,
citizen means that they have their own agency, right? To be a part of that citizenship.
well, what is it? What are you're making a distinction without a difference, either your property or a citizen. The citizens are property
are cows
of
citizens? Are cows citizens?
cows are animals. Cows are livestock. They're a different category than
They're
humans.
property.
They're different so not only are livestock
You're the one,
property,
you're
but
the
also
one
wives.
Who brought the
Wives
analogy.
are also property.
You're the one who brought the comparison to livestock. So are we comparing women and wives to livestock, or are we not?
No, we are, but I'm not saying they're the same as livestock. I'm saying they're property like livestock and like a bicycle.
Livestock. Okay, like a bicycle. You can burn
There are different
and destroy
categories
a
of
bicycle
property.
if you'd like.
It's a different category of property. And I can't burn a bicycle anywhere I like. And I can't even burn it on my own property without a burn permit. Only in an appropriate way. I can't just throw it in a gutter. That's littering. I have to do it in the approved fashion in accordance with the law. So in the same way, I have to treat my wife in
like
the approved fashion according to the law. There's going to be a different treatment for a human being, for the mother of a child, than there is going to be for a bicycle, obviously. So, but that doesn't mean that there's no limitation under the law with how I can treat different categories of property.
Even in history, despite coverture, women were not considered as property. Women were seen as secondary. You were right about that, but they were not seen as property. And under coverture, marital rape was allowed. Beating your wife was allowed. These are things that were allowed when women were not seen as property. They were just seen as secondary. So when you bring women down to the level of property, what do you think is going to happen?
Everything's going to get way better, and the women are going to be way happier, and tons of children will stop suffering as badly as they are. That's what's going to happen. That's really what I care about the most, is that everyone has a happy, wholesome family. And the way to get there is to disambiguate the terms and understand exactly who belongs where in the hierarchy. And in order to do that, we have to define everything properly. So what you're saying is that in history, they just didn't have a full definition, a full categorization. They didn't take it far enough in legal terminology. I'm not advocating a return to a past time. I'm looking into the past, into the traditions that we inherited from our ancestors, for the imagery that exists there. By the way, marriage is older than the word property, but in the marriage ceremony itself, the property was implicit. It was understood that this woman belongs to her father, and then she becomes the belonging of her man, the husband. And he's going to look after her in terms of animal husbandry, akin to the way that we look after animals.
She was an extension of his identity.
Yeah, so you're missing the point here, that I'm advocating for a change in our thinking, not a return to an old way of thinking. I'm saying that we now need to understand that women are our property, meaning, more explicitly, they are our responsibility. That's what property means. That what you are responsible for. A thing, a noun, a person, place, or thing that you are responsible for, that's your property legally. And to the degree that you're responsible for it, that's the degree to which you have autonomy and agency in use of that thing. There's going to be limitations on that, just in the way that I'm limited in the way that I use my real estate that I have here. I'm limited by the jurisdiction that my real estate lies within. There's authority over me on different levels, all the way up to the state and the federal, the levels of which they control the territory. I have to adhere to those laws. In the same way, I need to adhere to certain limitations in how I treat my wife. That doesn't, just because she's my property, doesn't mean I can just do anything that I want at any time.
Were
There's
you
going to
not
be limits
just talking
to right
about
behavior.
force? Like that men have force, men have a monopoly on force, and that's why men are above women?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And there's
What does that
in
monopoly of force mean?
It's that men have power that women don't have.
And what is that power?
We have power over women. Yeah, at the most basic terms, obviously, we have a physical strength that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's in general. But also, we have an intellectual force that is different than yours. And we don't need to get into the weeds on that. If you disagree with that, I literally don't care. You can argue with somebody else about that. But that's the place that I'm coming from. That exists. So
Okay.
we
You
are
have the
smarter, we
physical.
are stronger,
Mhm.
we have power that you can never have. If you wanted to get all the women together and try to overcome all the men and we fought a battle, you would lose. The only way we would lose is if you somehow weakened us. The only way for us to lose to you is if we become weak. We would have to descend to your level of strength and then we could lose. That's the only way we could lose. But if we have natural males versus natural females, the females cannot compete with us in any way because you're children. And that's why you're great at being mothers, by the way, is because to look after children, you need to be childlike. And what's the main thing that a woman needs to teach her children, by the way, is by example, by demonstration. She teaches her children to obey their father. That's the way to lead children. And this is why only until recent times did they say in the marriage ceremony itself, back to that, I will love, honor, cherish, and obey. That was the vow for the woman. She would say obey as the last, and that's like the seal. When she is getting married, she is vowing to obey her husband. And he's going to look after her, care for her, forsaking all others, and commit himself to only planting his seed in this property. And he's going to grow his family there, a crop of new citizens. You are his property where he plants his seed.
Okay,
Just,
so
it's
back to
literally
this
that.
force, if you are using, here's the issue. You have used the analogy to livestock, and now you've used the idea of physical force, right? Might makes right? What am I supposed to take away from this? Like what this means if women are going to be property in this hypothetical scenario? What am I supposed to take away from the fact that you compared them to livestock? You compared, you brought up animal husbandry in this, and you brought up physical force. What am I supposed to take away? Am I supposed to trust you? Am I supposed to trust men like you?
Yeah, absolutely.
To treat their women right.
Because we can look after you. And because you can rely on us for the strength that we have that you don't have. And so what would an animal that is the property of let's say a farmer or a rancher, what would they want from that person? From that master over them as a pet, or for that caretaker over them as livestock? They would want wisdom. They would want insight. They would want planning. They want like a high time preference. They want the type of man who's going to look after them well, who's going to provide them a nice green pasture protected from the wolves. That's what the cattle is going to want from them, to lead them. The sheep wants the shepherd who's going to lead them by the still waters and in the nice green pastures. It's literally biblical. So what a woman wants, and what you ought to be desiring your father to find for you, by the way, is a man who's going to be that for you. He's going to have the strength to look after you and the wisdom and knowledge to care for you in the right way. And when a woman has that, there's no woman on the world happier than her. When she is in submission and obedience to a good man like this, she's safe and she's free to be childlike with her children, to laugh and dance and sing with her children. And their children are in heaven, and everybody's in heaven on earth. In this world that's full of fangs and poison and claws and gnashing teeth, we can have heaven on earth when a man is looking after his family and the woman is obedient to him and the children are following her in the right way. That's the prescription for happiness, and everything else is a deviation away from that. It relies on the man's strength to carve out a safe place in the world for you to be who you are. And if you try to do it on your own, what you're going to be is lonely and sad and anxious forever. And there's millions of people like that are lonely, sad, and anxious, and they don't need to be, because they're not relying on man's strength. They're trying to do it on their own. They're trying to do it on
I've said, though,
fairness for women. It's a joke and it's a trick. It's a trap. Okay, it's a ripoff.
The studies kind of go against what you say. Stay-at-home moms.
Oh, the studies?
I mean, yeah, stay-at-home moms in America.
The studies of what?
Are more likely to be depressed, isolated, and economically vulnerable. So clearly, this is not true. That women who are
say that again. The studies of stay-at-home moms in America.
Stay-at-home moms in America are more likely to be depressed, isolated, and economically vulnerable than their working counterparts. So,
what, in modern America?
Yes.
in modern America where we have liberated women and feminism. So the women are comparing themselves to pantsuit ladies who are girl bosses, and they're living in a consumer society where the men have been emasculated, and now women are sitting at home watching Jewish television, and they're depressed now. What do you know?
Being at home and taking care of your children is so satisfying, then why is it that stay-at-home moms are more likely to have all of these issues?
First of all, I don't know if that's actually a fact. And second of all, we are in a postmodern hell right now where the men have become weakened so that women can compete. So the requirement is first that the women stop trying to overcome the men. And secondly, or we can put this one first too, that the men have to return to being strong. And the only way we can do that, by the way, is to stop distracting ourselves with competing with women and trying to be fair to women and make space for women. Every space in public is a space for men. And when it's that way, the men, only the strong, will survive. Everything will be reliant upon strength. And when the strong man returns to the home, women can stay home and have a good time. But right now, when men are weak and distracted and they're depressed too, and they're on drugs and they don't know how to be fathers and they're caught up in foreign wars for somebody else and a million other things, the only reason all of this is happening is because men are not leading. Men are not leading. We have like a phantom of what a man is. That's usually what's leading right now because we've made too much space for women and for deceit and for undermining, for ambiguity. All of this bullshit needs to be replaced with actual masculinity. When masculinity is leading the home life, I mean, right now you're taking—
What is masculinity?
It's another topic. You want to go on? Oh, Brittany walks away from the seat. Brittany, good job.
I'm hungry. I'm right here though. I don't want to eat on camera like a weirdo.
Yeah, well, take a break in between the debates. You're going to eat in the middle?
There is no time to take breaks in between all this. It's freaking awesome.
Who made the schedule, Brittany?
I don't know.
Who made the schedule?
I maybe. I needed a lunch break. Keep going.
Doesn't bode well for women, but go ahead.
Go way into the night.
Stardust, you tell me, what is masculinity?
I asked you first.
I know. I asked you second.
You
go. It's your idea.
Well, you're the one who is saying that men need to return to being masculine, and I would like to know what that means.
Okay, I would like you to tell me what you think it means before I follow you down this rabbit hole. Go ahead.
I don't know what it means.
Okay, there we are.
According to the dictionary, it's qualities or attributes regarded as characteristic of men. Handsome, muscled, and driven. He's a prime example of masculinity.
It's a basic dictionary definition, but I need to point out, first of all, you asked me a question, and now you're saying you don't know what it means.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you the question.
Yeah, well, I've watched your debates, and you do that a lot. You ask questions, say, I don't know. This is female undermining. You're doing it right now. You're literally you're creating ambiguity in the conversation.
And now you're like,
I know, but no,
you're talking, you're advocating for, you're advocating for men to be leading women. So
but you're pretending you don't know what is. You're pretending you don't know what masculinity is. You're a liar.
No, I don't know.
No, you're lying. Yeah, you're lying. You do.
I know what masculinity
and you're pretending
is
you don't.
in aesthetics.
And here's what's going to happen is
kind of way, right?
When I answer your question, you're going to pretend you don't understand what I just said. And you're gonna try to, but are you sure? And how do you know that? So you're just undermining the conversation by asking this question and pretending you don't already know the answer.
I just want to know how you would. I just want to know how you would define masculinity.
Okay, and I want you to know that I see you lying to me right now. Before we go further, you're lying. You know what masculinity is,
all right,
and you're not giving an answer.
Whatever you'd
because
like
it's
to
strategic.
Say.
You're strategically undermining through lying. And I've called you out on that.
I thought strategy was a man's thing.
No, the female strategy is lying, deceit, undermining, and phoniness. That's the female strategy, and you're putting it on display for us.
Do you think that you're displaying masculine energy right now?
There's another undermining question. How many more do you have?
They just come to my head.
Do you think that you're displaying femininity right now?
I don't really care
by lying, right? You don't care because you're a leftist and a liar. You don't care about the truth. You don't say the truth. You just pretend you don't care and you don't know. And you just asking questions, just trying to poke holes in your ship. And if it sinks, it's not my fault.
How long are you going to have your little freak out here before we actually move on?
As long as I want.
Okay.
As long as I want.
All right. You're looking
Rest of the show.
I just would like you to know you're looking like a crying.
Oh, tell me what I'm looking like.
A crying
tell me what I'm
baby
looking like.
Bitch right
okay, now
Who
shame
has
me.
the feminine energy here, Big Tech?
Now try to shame me.
Who's doing the feminine energy?
Yeah, now do a passive-aggressive shaming ritual.
You're the one who's you're full aggressive. If I'm being passive aggressive, you're full aggressive. And you are having a little meltdown in the middle of our debate here. We haven't even gotten
you're just
through.
lying. I'm not having a meltdown. I'm just
having
stopping
a meltdown.
And
you're having a meltdown
stopping
right
you,
now.
And
waiting
I'm
for you to define it.
Okay, now you're lying again because I'm not having a meltdown.
You're
just lying about everything. All you have is lies and we can't move forward. You can't say anything true before we move on.
I asked you a question and instead of answering the question,
and I just called you out on a lie.
What do you want me to do?
I called you out on a lie and you followed it up with another lie right in front of everyone.
What would you like me to do here?
Tell me what you think masculinity is.
I know what masculinity is from an aesthetic sense, right? Like generally like typical masculinity in an aesthetic sense, like people talk about like a muscular man, a man who has very stereotypical like male features like beard and things like that.
So masculinity means looking like a man and having a beard.
I only know from an aesthetic sense. I don't know what your values are going to be different from me. You clearly operate from a different system than me.
Let me ask you another question. We're going to go down this road together, but you asked me a question and I'm going to go down that road by asking you some questions too. We're going to get to the answer.
Can you answer what masculinity is to you?
Yeah, I'm going to address
instead of avoiding the question. I'm not avoiding it. I'm not trying to trick you, Big Tech. All I want to know is where you're coming from when you talk about masculinity. I'm trying to learn so I can talk on the same wavelength as you.
If that's really what you want to know, then follow me down this road and I'll help you understand. Is that really what you want to know?
Answer the question first.
Oh, so do you want to know or do you want to try to ask me a question?
I would like you to define what masculinity is to you.
Okay, so you want to hear a definition, but you don't really want to know what I'm saying.
Well, you're not. You're answering because I want to help you know what I'm saying. Questions.
Yeah, I'm going to answer it that way. That's an answer. All right. So do you want an answer or do you want me to just give you a definition that you can react to? Do you want to answer or do you want me to conform to your request for a definition? Okay, I'm going to answer the question this way. Are you familiar with masculine and feminine in terms of language?
Sure.
Yes. Okay, good. Do you know any Spanish or what's the language frame that you're used to that has masculine and feminine
that has masculine and it has masculine and feminine modifiers. So.
Okay. So interesting. This is good. So let's take a couple words. Like, you know, the word for the sun is El Sol. You know that one? Mm-hmm. The sun, El Sol. You know the word for the moon? It's La Luna. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what so El denotes a masculine word and La denotes a feminine word. We have masculine and feminine language. Now, the sun is masculine in Latin root language. Does the sun look like a man? Does the sun have muscles? Does the sun have a beard? No. So why is the sun masculine? Good question, right? Mm-hmm. So what does masculine mean? Masculine is related to power. Masculine is related to an essential strength. Masculine is related to fortitude. Masculine is related to brightness and to essentially giving. When the thing has the power to give of itself, that's masculine. The sun pours light nonstop upon the earth and the moon. What is the feminine nature of the moon? The moon's also a sphere in the sky. It also produces light, right? But the moon is reflecting the light of the sun. There's a softness to the light of the moon, and it doesn't generate it on its own. It reflects the light of the sun for us in the nighttime. When the moon's full, it's a beautiful thing, and bathing in the moonlight is wonderful. But the moonlight is really sunlight reflected. So masculine and feminine is related to giving and receiving or reflecting. And in the same way, the man gives his seed into the woman, and she then reflects that life, gives it back to the man. He deposits his energy like the sun puts its energy into the earth. The mother earth receives the sun of the energy of the sun, and life comes out of that. So the masculine gives, the feminine receives. It's literally that simple. It's masculine giving, feminine receiving. And when the feminine receives and gives back, that's the complete cycle. But the masculine gives first. That's what masculine is. So we call a man masculine. That doesn't mean that a strong man. Why is that masculine? Because he has the power to give. That's what the masculinity means. Why does a beard mean masculine? Because a beard is related.
Mean strength as well.
Femininity means softness and receptiveness. When a woman looks curvy and round and she has a softness and a suppleness to herself, a vitality of youth and ripe receptivity to the man, that's feminine.
Do you think
when a woman is square and hard and she's not being feminine.
Do you think that it takes some strength to like carry a child for 8-9 months?
Not that much, but yeah, sure. Yeah, humans are strong, but in relation to a man, it's nothing to what he endures in his life.
Okay, so like growing a life inside you is not
Right.
strength to you.
Yeah, even a pig or a squirrel can do that.
Okay.
Can they not? And any animal can do it.
Sure. I would say
Yeah.
that growing.
So it's not special. It's not fantastic. It literally takes no effort. You just have to survive. You just have to be there.
Can men do it?
No, we're not equipped.
Okay, so then if anybody can do it, then men can't.
No, any creature can do it.
Any creature except for the male ones.
Right. Only the female creatures can do it.
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't take strength. It takes receiving the seed from the man. That's what it takes. It takes receptivity.
Giving birth?
You're giving back what he's given you.
Giving birth
You're
doesn't
reflecting
take
it back.
What was the before modern medicine, what was infant mortality like? What was childbirth like? Did a lot of people die in childbirth?
Yeah, it's
Seems like
extremely dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It takes a lot of strength to get through that, right?
Yeah, a lot of these weak women died doing this thing that they're naturally created to do. They could barely handle it.
Seems like femininity needs a lot of strength too.
I'll tell you what, if men had wombs, they could do it better than women. We would be better at bearing children and delivering them than you are. But we don't have those. That's not the way that we are formed. That's not in our nature. Right. We don't have that.
And you couldn't test that out.
I don't have wings. I don't have a tail. That doesn't make a bird or a snake better than me. It's just not what I have.
I mean,
but
I think women are better at giving birth than men are. Yeah. You just can't do it.
They're the only ones that are able to do it.
Right.
So here are you trying to win on this like weird distinction that you're making? Like, oh, there's some things we can do that you can't. Therefore, like, we're stronger than you.
I think that femininity encompasses strength as well, just like masculinity.
How is it strong for you to just to survive a thing that a man is putting you through?
To grow something inside of you? To give birth to that thing?
Yeah. How is that strength?
To feed it afterwards, to take care of it?
Yeah, just like a cow. Literally a cow. Cows do it all the time, and they have more nipples than you do. Mm-hmm. Is a cow stronger than you?
Maybe.
Yeah, so you're less than a cow.
Okay. I'm glad that we're back on that. If I'm less than a cow, then is a cow a citizen?
A cow is property.
Okay.
It's an animal. Only humans are citizens.
Were slaves citizens?
You know what? This is an interesting question. Let's go down this road. In the world where what I'm talking about becomes real, in that world, only men will be citizens anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Men will be citizens. Mm-hmm. Women will be wives and children and mothers. That's what the women will do. Women will be They'll look after children and the infirmed. There'll be mothers and there'll be nurses and there'll be servants. There'll be helpmates to the men. The
If
citizens
women
will
are
vote.
not-
And citizenship only comes with military service, by the way. Only if you've already engaged in increasing and maintaining the power structure that the law is based upon. Only if you're in right standing with the martial law, then you are a citizen of the nation.
If women are
And
not
women don't
citizens,
serve.
if women are not citizens, what is stopping men from doing whatever they want to their wives if they are property?
Other men are
that
the
didn't
ones who
work.
stop
That
them.
didn't work too well in the past, did it?
Oh, boo-hoo.
Okay, so
It's not working too well right now. Women still get abused now, don't they? I guess what you're advocating for on the left isn't working very well.
It's less. It's less than it used to be. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of things are less, including quality of life for children are less now than they used to be. Even when children started working at a young age and were less educated, they had less levels of like childhood suicide and addiction to medications and coping with all sorts of
child
psychotic
mortality
realities.
again was much higher. It used to be much higher.
There's worse fates than death, sweetheart. And there's a lot of people living in hell, and that's worse than being
I don't
dead.
know that actually, I don't think what you're saying is correct. I think people actually live in the safest time possible right now.
Yeah,
Things
well,
have only gotten
safety is
safer.
unnatural. Yes.
Well, you're talking about
in
about
what
the
way?
safety of life for a child.
How do you,
safety
how do
of
you,
life for a child
how do you measure that?
is in every way better
Safe from what?
nowadays.
Are people safe from lies? More safe than
They're
they used to be?
safe from harm. They're safe from
And what type of
safer
harm?
from harm.
Spiritual and mental harm?
What is spiritual and mental harm?
What do you think it is?
I'm not spiritual, so
Right. Exactly. Do you know what mental harm is?
sure, yeah, mental harm, psychological harm, things like that, yeah. And
Are
I
people
still think
more safe from that
children
now
are
than they
more
used to be?
safe from that. Yeah, they are.
Really? So children were like more mentally like in more upheaval and more deranged and more anxious and more nervous in the past than they are now?
Yes.
In the past when things were more masculine, when we had a more
When
masculine
children
time.
worked and had the risk of losing limbs in the factory, yeah, things are safer now for children.
What about before factories?
When they worked in the farm?
Yeah, with their fathers.
And do you think that some of the equipment wasn't extremely dangerous? Do you think that some of
You
the
mean like the
working
shovels and the
conditions-
plows?
working
You mean like the
conditions
oxen?
weren't extremely dangerous for young children?
No, they weren't. It was fine. And by the way, physical harm is different than mental harm. And I'm asking you about the mental well-being of our children. Are children
Physical
better
harm
off
is
being
always-
pumped into... Hold on.
Physical harm is
Are-
always accompanied
All right,
by
don't hold
mental
on.
harm. It is
No, it's
always
not.
yes, it is.
Oh, wait. No, I'm talking about mental harm that is not accompanied by physical harm.
Okay, and I would say that physical harm, because it always is accompanied by mental harm, is by far worse.
Okay, fine. But it's also less frequent. So it's not actually worse
It's
on the
not
whole.
less frequent.
Yes, it is. There was less farm-related accidents than there are mental problems in our children today. In the past, there was less children on their father's farm getting physically harmed by farm work with their fathers and uncles and grandfathers and neighbors. That there wasn't just like a rampant problem with kids being run
There
over
was
by an oxen
war.
or something.
There is war. There
Yeah.
were
Epic.
okay, and war is very dangerous. There's also less
The world is
law.
dangerous. Yeah, danger is like the name of the game. This is a dangerous world.
You're saying that things were safer for people back then. They were not.
I'm not talking about safer. I'm talking about more or less harmful to our spirit and to our mind. Harm versus safety, those are not the same thing. You're talking about just physical safety. You're thinking, like, again, like a woman. How can I keep myself from feeling physical pain? Just like shelter, keep the little chickies under my wings. That's good. That's how a woman's supposed to think. But you're not thinking like a man. You literally don't even have a frame of reference.
Do you think
for
that
the
war
world
was
as
good?
it is.
Do you think that war is good for mentally for men?
In general and as a whole, and especially modern war, less so. But there's pros and cons to war for men. Our culture as
PTSD.
men, PTSD is invented literally like by the feminized society we live in. So next.
I would love to hear you say that to a room full of veterans.
Yeah, okay. Well, that room full of veterans used to call it shell shock, and shells were only invented in modern war. So I'm talking about the ancient heritage of a war-based civilization. Our men were turned into men by becoming soldiers. Shell shock's not another name. It's the original name. Then they tried to water it down and call it post-traumatic stress disorder. No, shell shock is when fucking bombs were exploding around you and you went into a mental tunnel to protect yourself from a reality you couldn't cope with in this mechanized world that we're in.
And a lot of those men who came with shell shock after the war couldn't even walk properly. They were shaking. Their whole bodies were shaking.
Which war are we talking about?
Do you think that was good for them?
You said the war. What war are you talking about?
From any war where they had shell shock, right?
Which one?
World War I, right? Do you think that that was?
Do
good
I think
for
that
men?
we should have been involved in World War I? No.
I'm not asking you whether I'm not asking you whether men should have been involved. I'm asking you, do you think war is good for men mentally? And it's clearly not.
But okay, so you can turn up the volume on your voice, but it doesn't make you right, lady. The fact is, you're saying war in a general way, and I'm saying which war? Because you need to be specific. Because you're talking about war as if all war is the same.
Even wars prior to that were bad for people. You think?
How do you know that?
Do you think
for men?
Do you think that crusades were good for men?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they were protecting their homeland. That's what men do. It's literally how you become a man. They weren't sent to die. They were protecting
their
the territory.
And their children.
It happens. Yeah, people die. Animals die. Rabbits get eaten by coyotes. That's the world. Everybody dies, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but nobody escapes it. Everybody dies.
I thought you were talking about
suffering. So death isn't the worst result. Yeah, death isn't the worst suffering a human can experience.
Some of the suffering that people can experience is PTSD. Homelessness, physical debilitation after wars.
Talking to an annoying woman. I know there's all sorts of things that can be really, really hard to deal with in life. But that's the world.
This is not the argument that you're making. You're saying that things used to be better for people when they were more involved and more directly harmed by war. And that is not true.
The crux of that's not at all the crux of my argument. This is a weird little pigeonhole that you've got us into by asking these undermining questions. Hey, why is there an echo coming back now? All right, that's better. What you've done is instead of seeking to understand me and to argue with what I'm actually saying, you keep asking, but is this? But is that? How can I find a way to frame what you're saying in a way that doesn't make sense in this particular framing?
But then when I ask you to get specific, yourself because you don't want to agree with the fact that I am right about this. People
what are you right about?
Directly harmed people when they were directly harmed by war were suffering much more. Our quality of life is better today.
Can you try to say that in a way that sounds smart and not stupid? Can you get specific and talk about what you're saying? Please.
Right. When people were directly affected by war, when they were more directly involved with it, and it was around them, they had a worse quality of life. People died more, right?
When people were
it's very simple to understand. I don't understand why you can't understand it.
When people were sad and life was less good for them in the time when they felt sad. So duh.
You were just talking about shell shock and PTSD.
No, you brought up shell shock. You brought up PTSD again as a very specific thing about modern war, but you won't acknowledge it.
You don't think that that's something that people experienced previously? If they didn't die?
Shell shock?
If they didn't die, they probably came back traumatized from what they saw, right?
Let's just move on to a different area. This is such a goofy
we can
weird
move on
spot.
if this is too hard for you. Let's move on.
So yeah, it's so hard. This is really, really hard. So let's go. Why do you think women should be in charge of themselves rather than having men be in charge of them?
So I think that women and men in this traditional relationship you're talking about, I think that it's better that each person has their own autonomy, right? They have their own right to their agency.
Why?
When they enter a partnership, when somebody enters a partnership with me, I want them to be fully willing and fully in control of,
Why?
because it means that it's real.
Why?
Because
What's real?
If a person doesn't have their full agency and the full ability to withdraw their consent, right, to be a part of something, and they still go forward with it, that to me, I can't know if that's real. I can't know if that person really wants to be with me.
Who cares if a person wants to be with you? Who cares? Why does it matter?
Don't you want your wife to really want to be with you?
Nope. Don't give a shit.
This world that you're proposing, then, if you don't care if your wife really truly wants to be with you and you only care that she's listening to you, sounds like a really sad world. Does it not mean anything?
I want my wife to understand that she needs me.
She can understand that she needs you, but she can also want to be with you, right?
That's up to her.
But you don't care if she wants.
She'll want it if I'm sweet to her. She'll want it if I'm good. She'll want it if she sees my nobility and my integrity. Then she'll want it. But if she is what if she's just a rebellious bitch? What if she just wants to fuck every guy in town? Well, that's her problem. And I just need to be able to limit that bad instinct if I end up with a bad wife, as many people do. But I don't need a woman to want me. It doesn't do anything for me. Why does that matter to you so much?
I think that when you enter a relationship with somebody, that relationship should be as meaningful as possible. And I can't
What kind of relationship?
I can't see that relationship being meaningful at all, like a marriage. I can't see that marriage being meaningful at all if one of the parties in that marriage is unable, a meaningful connection with somebody.
What is
Let me finish.
of marriage?
Let me finish before I finish. Before you interject with another question. Let me finish. So if I'm entering a marriage with somebody, I want that marriage to be meaningful. And when I say meaningful, I mean that both parties have full agency and full ability to withdraw consent, and they still move forward. That is what meaningful means to me. And when one of those people in that relationship does not have full agency, does not have the full ability to be a human being with their own rights and still choose to be with me, then I can't see that as meaningful. It's just not.
I'm holding on for you to finish. So finish.
Yes. So what is making how do I know that this person is choosing me rather than just not choosing to be completely without anything on the street? You know, choosing me out of necessity rather than choosing me for me. I wouldn't want a husband who chose me over being homeless or being without anything or being with their parents. I would want a husband who chose me for me despite the fact that he is his own person.
Okay. So I'm going to do it like a caricature of what you just said and reflect it back to you. I don't mean to mock you, but I want to emphasize something that I think you're not aware of. Maybe you are, but maybe you're not. And let's see. But in essence, what you just said was me, and me, so me, and then me, and I, me, I, me.
That's actually a great impression of yourself for the entirety of this. What you're suggesting is that the wife who is property of her husband, property of her father first, right? You're saying that she should be property of her father first, and then when she enters a marriage, she's property of her husband, and her role is to make her husband happy. How do you know when you enter that marriage with her that she is choosing you over just not choosing being on the streets? How do you know that she's choosing you for you and not choosing you because the other option is so bad for her?
That's exactly what I want. That's the right way. I don't want her to choose anything. I want her father to choose.
Okay, so then she hasn't even chosen. She doesn't even have the ability to choose you. Okay, so does that
a cow doesn't choose the farmer that she's going to live on the dairy with.
Does that sound like a happy marriage where somebody didn't even choose to be with you?
Yes.
Okay. I think we just view this very differently. I don't think that we're
because
going
you're
to.
a woman and you don't know what happiness is. You don't know where it comes from. You think happiness is related to selfishness, which is why you said me.
No,
it's
related
Women
to
think
a
that
partnership.
if I'm happy, that's happiness.
You don't think that it has to do with a
But
partnership.
women aren't happy. Women are horrible retards who just are always unhappy.
It's if you want to enter
Until
a lifelong, if you want
creates happiness.
If you want to enter a lifelong partnership with somebody,
I don't.
Okay,
it's not a partnership. It's an ownership.
Okay, all right, clearly. So if you think that a lifelong ownership is more meaningful than a lifelong partnership with another human being who has equal ability to walk away and they still choose not to, I don't know what to tell you. We just have a different...
Yeah, you don't know what to tell me. That's meaningless to me. The only thing that makes marriage meaningful is that you're creating a family together. That's the meaning of marriage.
But
you're going to create children.
Make a family with you.
No, the man and the woman's father chose to unite the clans and create a family through this woman with consent of everyone else there at the ceremony who says, we don't have a problem with this. We agree. Legal transaction. Now this man is going to plant his seed in this woman and together they're going to raise the children. That's the beauty. That's where the meaning is. That's what love is. You grow in love as you serve God together by growing his children up. You're serving the nation. You're serving the family. You're serving the tribe. You're serving everyone else, not you. It's not about me. It's about us.
Right. And part of us is still choosing to be part of a partnership despite having the full ability to walk away.
No, the partnership is I lead, you follow. There's no freedom to walk away. It's I say this is the right way. And you say, I will obey you. Even if I disagree, I will trust. I put my life in your hands. That's what's meaningful for a woman to give to her man. I put my life and my body at your service. And we will grow a family together. I will sacrifice my needs for the greater good.
You can do all of those things. You can sacrifice your needs. I can sacrifice my needs. I can give my life. I can give my body to somebody. But I think that it means much more to them if I still have the ability to walk away at any time and I still choose to be there and give my life and give my body and give my my partnership to them. That is meaningful to me.
You know, right, because you're coming from a place of egotistical selfishness, and that's what has meaning to you.
No, it's selflessness.
Yes.
It's selflessness. If a man has the ability to walk away and still lays down his life,
stop interrupting. I have something to say. This is something you need to let me finish. I've already heard you say this. I've already heard this. Let me explain. I've already heard this part. You're repeating yourself, and you don't need to.
Then he has demonstrated that is selflessness. If a man is willing to put down all of those other things that he could be doing, lay down his life, right? Put aside his time to build a family with somebody. That is sacrifice. And that's from both sides of the party. That should come from both sides of the party.
Yes, but it's not for you, sweetheart. It's for us.
Yes,
he's sacrificing for us, not for you, not for me and you, but for all of us. He's sacrificing for the children. He's sacrificing for his mother and father. He's sacrificing for the nation. He's sacrificing for God. It's not about you because your pussy is special. That's not what it's about. It's not about your feelings. It's not about your ego feeling special because he's giving his life for me. It's not about you.
Right. I'm giving my life for him too.
No, you're giving your life for all of us. It's not about him. He doesn't feel special because you're choosing to be with him and he's your special boy. That's retarded. That's evil. That's not what it's about. That's self-centered self-gratification. And everybody on the left, by the way, this is the massive distinction. You think in terms of what gratifies me. That's where all of your values come from. What is gratifying
Big
to
Tech,
me?
all you're talking about is men owning women and being served by those women, and then you giving a little bit back to her.
We give everything she has comes from us.
You are talking about a woman being your servant for the rest of her life. That is self-serving you, Big Tech. That is self-serving you.
She's
you said that women don't
Stop telling me what I said. Let me tell you what I'm saying.
To deliver
Stop
a
telling
baby.
me what I'm saying.
You've said that.
Okay,
that
you're
women
just going
like
to insist
livestock.
on repeating shit. I know what I said. You don't got to repeat it all. It's not going to make a difference.
Selfish, actually, from your end.
No, it's not.
All about
no, it's not.
Actually,
you have a problem with it
you,
because of yours.
You're talking about slavery. You're talking about servants.
Can I answer now? Hey, babe, can I answer now?
You didn't want to answer earlier, so why should I?
I'm trying to fucking answer, and you won't shut your flapping mouth.
I won't.
Hold your tongue for a second.
Won't. No.
I know, because you're a disobedient, rebellious bitch.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I got your number.
You don't.
So now that you're not talking, I'm going to explain. It's not about her serving me and now I feel like a special guy and I have so much power and good for me. I have a servant and I'm getting off on my power over her. It's just the right way for us to behave in relationship to each other so that everything you can't even just listen to what I'm saying. No, I'm not. You are projecting that shit on me right now. That's the terms in which you think. You are power. That's why you can't stand the idea of being the property of a man, because that makes you feel diminished as a person. Your ego gets shrinked down.
Would you like being the property of another man?
I am the property of other men.
Okay. How?
Because the state has authority over me. That's what paternal law is. The father, the paterfamilias, the state, the jurisdictions around me have authority over me, and that's other men. The men above me I am their property.
It's not a single man.
When the commander sends me out into war to go die, he has the authority to do that. He's over me. He has authority over my life. I belong to that regiment of the army.
Maybe you should enter a partnership with another man then.
It's not a partnership.
If you're okay with being with this type of ownership, maybe that's that. Maybe you need to enter a marriage with another man.
Maybe you need to stop putting that gay faggoty propaganda into the conversation in order to undermine what I'm saying. Oh, maybe you're gay or something weird. Stop being gross. Stop.
You're the one who's saying
Don't
you're okay. You're okay with another man owning you. So
maybe you need to be in a relationship with a man. So
I mean,
gay,
you
dumb.
are already. So
yeah, there's lots of. I'm in a relationship with my mother. I'm in a relationship with my father. I'm in a relationship with my children. You keep saying relationship and partnership as if that's what marriage is. Relationship just means how do we relate one to another? I relate to my father differently than I relate to my buddy. There's a different type of relationship. And the right relationship between a husband and a wife is that the husband leads and the wife obeys and follows. That's the right relationship. But what you want is this partnership of equality. And we're both always choosing to be with each other because I want to know that he thinks I'm special and he'll never leave me for me, because I want to know that I'm his little shooting star. I'm his little, I make his life happy on a sad day. And he's thinking of me and he buys me flowers and he tells me I'm pretty or whatever, because he's choosing me because for me, for what I am inside. And he found something in me that he just can't live without. And that feeds your narcissism. That feeds your ego, makes you feel special because you're only thinking about yourself.
Does it make you feel safe that your wife would leave you if she had a choice? Does it make you feel good if your marriage is the type where your wife would leave you if she had a choice?
No. That doesn't feel good.
Right.
It feels bad.
It feels really bad.
I want her to not be able to leave me, even if she wants to. Fuck you. You signed a contract. You made vows. I bought you from your father.
Though.
You belong to me. You're not fucking leaving.
She herself didn't, in your world, she herself did not make that contract with you.
Yes, she did. She walked down the aisle in obedience to her father, and she said the vows to the priest.
Her father made that deal with you, not her.
And she obeyed him. If
she is the property, then her father made that deal with you. She did not, and she would leave you if she had the chance to.
Did she say the vows or not, Stardust?
She had to.
So she said them?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she could have rebelled against her father. She should have said, no, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm not going to the wedding. I'm not going to say these vows.
Do you think that would work in your world?
What would happen is she would pay the consequences.
Right.
She would accept her fate and she'd say, okay, I'm going to be a non-married woman. I'm going to be a spinstress. I'm going to be a hag. I'm going to be an outcast from society. I'm going to let my family down. I'm not going to have a family. Nobody's going to want me. Or I can trust the wisdom of my father and I can engage in marriage with this honorable man that he's chosen for me. And I can commit my life to an act of service toward the community by raising healthy children.
Obedience is not making a choice.
You can choose to obey or not. That's the choice.
Being property is not a choice.
The only choice is always obey the right way or rebel. That's the choice. And what I'm telling you is the right way. And you're saying, well, I don't like that. And I'm saying, well, tough titties. That's the right way. Everything else is a deviation from the right way. And you just don't want to be obedient to the right way. You're just a rebel.
So in this world that you're creating, what if men decide that they want women to be equals?
First of all, they won't. There's no purpose for that.
They've done it already.
We're in a strange... No, they didn't.
They did. In this world, they did.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't decide that.
Do you think that women would have the rights that they have if it weren't for men giving them those rights?
Okay, let's frame it and see, like, did they get the rights? So yeah, when a person gets swindled, did they choose did a person who got swindled choose to be swindled? Is that what they wanted?
You think that the entirety
do people get tricked and ripped off because they chose to get tricked and ripped off?
Men gave women the rights that they have now.
Men allowed a massive mistake to occur. They didn't give women these rights. And it wasn't men. It was our corrupted, fucked up early 19th century. It was at the exact same time that they were doing prohibition laws. And like the whole government was totally corrupt. That was the time that we got the 19th Amendment. It was in 1920, literally 100 years ago. And here we are. We're in feminine hell now. The men are not men anymore. The families are disintegrated. The children are all unhappy and in danger of pedophilia and all sorts of weird shit. The neighborhoods are fucked up. We're in nonstop foreign wars. We've been basically taken over by our enemies. We're degrading in power status. We're in debt up to our trillions of dollars of eyeballs. Everything's retarded.
And that's the men's fault for giving women those rights then, huh? Maybe the men should take responsibility for that.
And that's what I'm advocating for, is taking back responsibility that we allowed to slip. We have to take it back. And the only way to do that is for us to say, this is ours. We're making things go the right way. Fuck all that other noise. That's what I'm advocating for. That's what the right way is. That's what a reactionary right winger is. We're saying that was all a giant mistake. Let's learn from that and never let it happen again. And in fact, let's go a little bit further than we were even before that so that it can't happen. That's the most powerful word a man can say, is the N word, by the way. And it's when he says no to a woman. That's the real N word.
Do women have the right to say no to men in your world?
What?
Do women have the right to say no to men in your world?
No.
Okay, so I was right when I first asserted that marital rape would be back on the table, right? Beating your wife
you weren't right. You aren't
on
right.
the table.
It's not on the, it would be on the table as long as men allow it to be there, but the men don't. Why would we want that? Why would we want a civilization full of raped women raising our children?
If a woman cannot say no to her husband, then
what?
That's what marital rape is.
Marital rape is where a woman can't say no to her husband?
If she can't say no to sexual advances, then yeah, the marital rape is back on the table. You said that women can't say no in that world, right?
Look. Okay, fine. Fine. Look, you got me and I'm totally destroyed. Because when a man asks her, hey, is this the right time for you? And she says no. Does that mean she's in violation of the law? Or were you asking me something different than that, Stardust? Were you asking me if they could say no as in like what I just said, when I said that they can say no in relation to how we run things? Women don't get to say no in relation to how things are run. That's what I was talking about. So you just switched categories and you just took a statement I made in a totally different category and put it in the context of a man raping a woman.
You said that women are livestock.
Can't you just be honest and stop having such dishonest, bad faith questions and arguments?
Can you stop being dishonest? Can you stop lying? The only person lying. The only person lying here is you, Big Tech. I have been honest about.
Burned, owned. You said the thing to me that I said to you.
Are you 8?
8-year-olds are awesome. I've always been 8.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck you. So the thing is, what I was saying is that women can't say no to how things are run in the world. Men can say no to that. Men can say no with regard to how things are going to go in the family. I'm not saying a woman can't say no, not right now, honey. I'm literally vomiting. I've got the flu, or no, not right now because I've got, a child hanging off of my leg. But the idea is that a woman can't say, but what I would say is a woman can't say, I know you want another child, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to put my foot down. I don't want to bear another child.
That's her
Too
body.
bad for you. Yeah, too bad. No, it's not her body. It's his. She gave it to him. It belongs to him.
She didn't give it to him in your world. Her father gave it to him.
Well, she vowed to be obedient to him.
Not out of choice.
She could have chosen to rebel, and she didn't. So she chose obedience to her father, and then she said the vows to be now transfer that obedience over to her new father, which is her husband.
She chose to be born in a role equivalent to cattle, and she doesn't have any choice in anything.
The choosing is in being obedient or not. Can you repeat that back to me so that I know you heard me? The choosing is in being obedient or disobedient. That's the choice.
There's no choice there. When she's disobedient, then you said she faces consequences, right? And what are those consequences?
Yeah. Every choice has consequences, so that doesn't disprove what I'm saying.
What are the consequences? If you had a daughter...
The consequences of choosing to disobey the law are what they are. But you can make that choice. You can choose to speed. You can choose to rob a bank. You can choose to... purchase illicit substances. You could choose to attack someone in the street and assault them. You can make all those choices. You're free to choose all the time, but you're not free to do as you wish. You're free to choose the right way or not. That's the only choice you ever have, is to do something good or do something not as good as what it could have been.
You understand in your world that men have way more choices and way more agency than any woman would.
And they have way more responsibility, too. And that's why they have all these choices on their plate, is because they have the power. And with the power comes the responsibility. We are ultimately responsible. When I see a woman who's out of line, I don't want to go talk to the woman. I want to talk to who's in charge of you. Where's your man? Where's your husband or your father? I'm going to talk to that guy and find out why this woman is shrilling at me, or she's gossiping, or she's stealing, or she's whatever she's doing. She's misbehaving. She's causing a ruckus in the society. She's doing something wrong. Woman, where is your husband? He's the one responsible for you. Where's your father? Where's the man who's over you? Why are you out of the covering of an authority who's looking out to make sure that this child isn't running amok and screwing things up? Why aren't you busy with your children, taking care of them in the right way? Literally what you should be doing, training them up in displaying and demonstrating obedience to the father. Everybody will be so much more happy that way. It's literally the prescription for heaven on earth is happy families where everybody's being obedient to a loving, caring, wise, and strong father. That's what we're aiming at. That's why men have to be responsible to other men so that all of the men become strong and wise. The strongest and wisest among us ascend to the top, and everyone worships their way up to that, because the pinnacle, the ultimate, the ideal for a wise and strong man is our conception of God, the Father. That's what we're after. We're trying to become godly, godlike, strong and wise, truthful and faithful. When a woman has a husband like that, and she's in submission and obedience to him, how could she ever be unhappy? Except for in a fleeting moment. But she always has this rock in her life that she can lean on, and this covering of safety and providence and provision for her. And when she has a bunch of children who love and worship their father as she does, and she leads them in obedience and love and affection and gratitude for him as he leads them through the world, which is full of danger.
What if
full
he's
of
a bad?
sadness,
What if he's a
but
bad
he's
leader?
Then he is responsible to other men who will come and say, bro, why are you fucking up?
And if he continues to fuck up,
then he's going to catch consequences from his brothers who need him to be strong for their sister.
what happens to the wife and the children when the man has proven time and time again that he's unfit to be leading
Then
them?
they revert to being under the authority of another man, primarily, hopefully, his brother or another relative in the community. This is literally right from the Bible. That's how they did it back then. It makes perfect sense. Keep it in the family. This woman becomes the covering under another man. And if the man loses, if he fails in his responsibility to take care of his wife, which he vowed to do, he vowed in front of everybody publicly at the wedding ceremony. He said, I promise I'm going to take care of this woman, and we're going to make children together, and I'm going to take care of them. If he reneges on his promise, if he breaks his vow, if he doesn't live up to his word, we can punish him for that. We can say, bro, you're not doing it. And if we have to, we're going to swoop in and take control of them away from you. And you're going to pay us back for all of the energy it's going to take us. We can put you in the freaking salt mines. We can send you to a prison camp, whatever it takes. We're going to make you serve on the front lines in the military. We're going to make you serve us. We're going to put you in stocks and humiliate you, whatever's the right path. And we'll figure it out with the wisdom of the elders. We'll know exactly what to do. How do we shape this F slur up? I don't know. Are we on Twitch? Can I say faggot here? Like, I would say this guy, how do we shape him up into a man? And if we can't, get rid of him and replace him with another man. But we don't let losers get married in a good society anyway. This man's already served. This guy, it's already been approved by his brothers. He's already been through like an initiation process where other men have said, yes, this is a man who is reliable and we can depend on him. Now he's certified for marriage. Let's find this guy a wife. Hey, that guy's got a good daughter who's of the right age, who's in good standing, and she's obedient. Would this be a good match? The men can confer, and then they can propose it to the woman. Hey, we found this suitable husband for you. We want to do this. And if the woman hates the idea, she can appeal to her father. Daddy, please, this is not the guy for me. I really want this other guy, and here's why. And he can consider that, but a wise and considerate and loving father, he's going to take all of these things into account, and he sees further down the road than his teenage daughter does. He sees a bigger,
Why
he has a bigger
teenage?
understanding of, because that's the right marriage age.
How old are you saying?
Basically any time after puberty.
So anytime after puberty is the right age for marriage. A lot of women go through puberty like at 10.
Okay, well, the father's going to know if this girl's too young. But anytime after that, she's eligible. But what I'm
So-
talking about, the father's still going to choose. This one is kind of immature and young.
Okay. So my question from my opening statement about whether property under the age of 18 can consent, the consent doesn't matter as long as they have gone through puberty then.
Restate that question. What?
I had asked in my opening statement if property under the age of 18 can consent. So what you're saying is that the consent is not needed as long as they have gone through puberty.
The marriage ceremony is a ceremony of consent.
It's not, though, because it's a deal between the father of the property and the
The deal is
husband of the
arranged.
property.
It's arranged
Right,
by
it's
the fathers.
arranged. Uh-huh.
But when she walks on stage and says the vows, that's her choice.
Does she have a real
she's
choice if
exhibiting and demonstrating consent.
Does she have a choice? Is her choice real if her alternative is punishment, like dire punishment? Is her choice
Yes.
real?
It's still a real choice.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm still choosing to obey the law every day. There's people who, if I could, legally, if there was no punishment, there's things I would do to them that I don't do now because I'm constrained by the law. And so, am I consenting to this? Well, yes, I'm consenting to the laws of the land by obeying them. When
Did
I obey them,
slaves choose to be slaves?
no.
I mean, they're obeying the law, though, right?
Well, there's different kinds of slaves. There were bond servants. Do you know about them? They're the ones who consented to be slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's a bond servant who says, I will live here and work for you and be yours, and you'll be my master. And in return, I get to live here on your beautiful, palatial property, and I'm going to eat the good food that comes from the manor, and there's a return for me. Otherwise, I'll just be out in the world. What would I do? I'll just be in the wild. So I'll be your slave. That's a good deal, right? I'll consent to being your slave. So slaves have consent, but there's other types of slave that are just taken to captivity. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a bond. That's what the marriage certificate is. It's literally a certificate of the bond between the man and the woman. They're making an agreement. So the male and the female, the mother and the father, the father and the groom, everyone's arranging the marriage. And then there's a consent. So she can, other people at the marriage ceremony are asked, hey, does anybody protest against this? They can even say, hey, I don't consent to this. I've got a problem. They shouldn't be married, and here why. The idea, it's built into the ceremony for everybody to be heard out. Does everybody consent?
It doesn't matter if all the adults consent or not. What matters is if the person who is entering that contract is willing. And they can't be willing if they are under the age of 18.
Why? Why is 18 the magic number?
Well, it tends to be like we have to choose an age. And I even think that 18 might be kind of a little bit too young to really be entering a contract, fully aware of the consequences of that contract. But that's the age that we've chosen.
I think women aren't even capable ever in their whole life to be fully aware to enter into a contract. To be perfectly honest with you, you're never reliable enough in your mind to really understand what's going on. And the contracts you sign, they're not even valid. Only men can sign contracts in the first place because only men can really understand and think in a way that understands the ramifications. The woman can just trust her father and agree. That's really all she's doing. It's not about consent. It's about women are children.
If women are children.
Even when they're 18.
If women are children, and you're okay with a man giving away his 11-year-old daughter to another man in a marriage, are you telling me that you're pro-pedophilia?
No, because pedophilia refers to prepubescent children, and people have a disgusting developmental disorder where they sexually fantasize about infants. What are you talking about? You weirdo?
Just because people go through puberty doesn't mean that every part of them has developed fully.
Yeah, but you're trying to do this like weird little thing. Have we just edged into a thing where you're a pedophile? Don't do that. Fuck off.
You're saying that it, as long as she's gone through puberty, that her father can give her away. You've also said that she is equivalent to, like, the type of property she is equivalent to, like, livestock. You've said she can't. You said that she can't. She has the choice of. She can choose between entering the contract or facing the consequences of not entering that contract, which is not a real choice. I don't like the world that you're painting.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you wouldn't like it because you're a rebellious bitch. But look, here's the idea. Are you familiar with the ceremony called a quinceanera?
Yes.
Do you know what a quinceanera means and is for?
I only know that it's like at the age of 15.
That's right, because though it's based on the word quince, which means 15. It's also related to, we have a similar, like a reflection of that same idea in America. We call it the girls Sweet 16, which in the American modern world has been turned into where like you just have a party for her. Sometimes her rich dad gets her a car or something. Like we have a television sitcom version of a Sweet 16.
What's the point? What's the point you're getting to? Let's get to the point.
Yeah, let's get to the point. So the point of a quinceanera is when the girl's 15, the idea is that that's in general, that's the age where she has gone through puberty and now she is fertile. And at 15, she's going to put on a beautiful dress and she's going to come out into the town square or into a public place where everyone's invited for a party. And she's going to dance in front of the eligible suitors in her town. And the young men who are eligible to be husbands are going to see her dance.
What's
and they're
the
going
point of this? Do you think that I think that's okay? You think that I'm fine with that? Do you think that I'm okay with women being, as soon as they hit puberty, it's okay to present them to other men?
No, what I want to ask you now is, are Mexicans pedophiles because of quinceañeras?
No, but they're not the ones who are suggesting.
But they're 15, so
they're
all
not
of
the
Mexico
ones
is
who
pedophiles.
are suggesting that people after the age of puberty can be married.
That's what a quinceañera is. That's what a quinceanera is. So all Mexicans are pedophiles. Mexicans are Stardust thinks that all Mexicans are pedophiles because of quinceañeras.
What I think is that you're a fucking pedophile.
See, you don't like it when I do it to you, do you, dummy? You don't like it when I do the same thing to you, dummy.
You're not doing anything to me.
I just turned the exact framing around on you, and now you're pissed off.
It's not on me. You're the one who's saying after a woman hits puberty.
No, you're trying to call me a pedophile because I'm talking about age of consent, which is this weird area where you brought me into.
Anybody who's gone through puberty can get married.
I'm talking about if their father.
What is part of a marriage
chooses? It's the creating of children.
Right. And if a father decides that his 11-year-old is.
Yeah. Guess what? And sometimes that happened for like all of human history. That was kind of normal for it to be 11,
okay?
12, 13, 14.
Just because human history.
I don't know.
Just because something happened in human history doesn't mean that I think that it's okay. Slavery happened through human history. I don't think that's okay.
So then, well, if we decide that it's not okay, then we'll create a law where this is the age where a man can now offer his daughter up for.
Not in your world. In your
marriage.
world, you have said.
I didn't prescribe an age. I said anytime after puberty is fine. I said after puberty. I'm saying I'm putting a limit at puberty. I'm saying nowhere before then. And then we'll choose the right time after that.
It's still fucked up. That is still a child.
So what's what age did I say? What age did I say is?
What kind of family man are you if you're okay with children being married? Disgusting.
Oh my, what I said is the limit is puberty, nowhere before that. The right age is somewhere after that. That's where I said the limit is sometime after puberty.
You're just trying to walk it back now.
No, I'm not. You're just trying to make a big deal out of something that ain't, by the way.
No, you've said plenty of things in this conversation that I could be making a big deal out of, and I haven't. You've said that.
You just think it's funny. You just think it's funny to say that I'm a pedophile because I said puberty is the demarcation for fertility, and the purpose of marriage is creating families. The oldest traditions had young brides all the way back. That's just how it was. And different societies can make different choices.
It doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it wrong either. You're saying it's wrong. That's up to you. It's like your opinion, bitch. Just because that's your opinion doesn't mean you're right. That's just, you're like, I don't feel like that's right. Well, it was right for them. I'm not saying it would be right for us. We can choose whatever age we want. We can put limits wherever we want. Nowhere before puberty is what I would say. That's the obvious. Sometime after this, we'll choose the age where the marriage happens. And then I brought up quinceanera, which is 15, which is also too young for our culture. So are you saying that all Mexicans are pedophiles because they have 15-year-old brides?
At quinceaneras, they dance. They don't get married.
Yeah, it's an engagement ceremony at the 15th birthday. And it's like an auction where you buy the bride.
The ones that I've seen don't have any auctioning in them. It just has dancing.
Well, the ones that you've seen happened in the 21st century. So it's an old tradition.
And if we still kept the tradition where people were being married at 15, then I would say it's wrong.
Okay, well then Mexico has just always been wrong, right?
A lot of cultures have been wrong about women.
Yeah, according to you. But I'm saying no. They weren't wrong. We're wrong now. That's the point. We're wrong now. The women belong to us. We can choose the right age. The father knows what's right for his daughter. The men know who's eligible in the society. The women are children. We can offer them a choice to submit and obey, or they can be rebellious and pay the consequence of that. Just like an animal.
Okay, so one thing I do...
Or a child.
One thing I would say is that you earlier said that you don't think that women have the ability to consent throughout their entire lives.
Not fully, because they can't take full accounting.
Okay.
They don't have a full scope of vision. They have a narrow understanding of the issue, and then they consent based on a narrow understanding. So it's not a full consent.
Okay.
You can't consent to something you don't understand.
So if women are unable to consent, then that undermines your entire argument about vows and about marriage being a partnership that she's willingly entering into.
No, it doesn't.
She can't consent.
Doesn't matter. She still made the vow. It's not about consent. It's about promising. She made a promise. She obeyed her father, and she made the promise, and she's going to stick to the promise that she made to her family. Or not. She's making a promise before God and before all of her family. That's what the ceremony is. I'm promising to behave. I'm promising to do what needs to be done in order to care for our family, for these little beings, these little children that I'm going to bring up with our family's heritage and our family's name, and they're going to live amongst you all. They're going to be in and out of your homes. They're going to be in and out of your schools. They're going to add and contribute to society. And I'm going to give myself in service to you all by caring for these little ones.
What is a promise?
And
What's an important part of a
grows.
promise? What is an important part of a promise? Do you think consent's an important part of a promise?
Dude, you're really hung up on consent, huh?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you know why? Because you feel like it gives you power.
No.
Because you want to have the ability to say no to men.
I think that all human beings should have the right to withdraw consent. If they are being pushed into something, then they should have the ability to say no.
What do you think about suicide? Do you think people should be allowed to commit suicide whenever they want?
In some cases, yeah.
What about all cases?
It really depends. It's a case by case.
Depends on what?
Depends if they're in the right frame of mind to make that decision.
Women are never in the right frame of mind to make logical decisions. So how can we ever have them making actual consent?
I mean, then you're undermining your own argument here.
No, I'm not, because my argument isn't based on consent. It's based on obedience.
You've spent so much of this time saying that the woman is making a choice when she's clearly not, if she has no consent.
No, I have spent my time pushing back against your false claim that she doesn't have any choice. I'm saying the choice is to be obedient or not.
That's not a choice. If she has no if she has no way of giving consent, that's not a choice.
It's the only choice she has is between these two options. And you said that know what obedience is.
And you said that she has no way of giving consent. That you've said that she has no way of.
But you're linking this idea of consent to choice.
Yes, choice
and
requires
the importance
consent.
No, it doesn't. It just requires a choosing. If I choose to receive 10 years in prison or 3 gunshots in my gut, and I got to make a choice, does that mean I'm consenting to one?
If
yes,
you think
I consent
that all
to
women are mentally deficient, then and you've said that women don't have the ability to have a clear mind to make that consent, then it's not a real choice.
No, yes, it still is. You're just wrong. You're just like you're making a distinction without a difference here. You're like, if there's no consent, there's no choosing. No, there's still choosing. That you don't get to choose anything you want. That you don't have absolute freedom. You know, it doesn't require consent for you to choose one, even if she doesn't consent to either one. Like, I don't consent to you guys punishing me if I don't choose this, and I don't consent to marrying this man. Well, you're not consenting to either one, but you still have to choose. You have to choose between two things, whether you like it or not. Consent is not required in order to make a choice. So you're saying that without consent, there's no choice. No, that's just actually not right. You're just logically inconsistent. You're making a relation between
You
things that
can't
aren't
call
related.
me logically inconsistent when you don't understand the very basics of how consent goes into choice. You can't have a choice without consent.
You keep saying that, but you're not actually proving it. You just keep saying that that's what you think, and you're just wrong.
Okay, I think
if I make you, is it possible to make you choose between two things that you don't want?
Yeah, but you're saying that I don't even have the
Yeah.
mental ability to do that. So I don't have the mental ability to make that choice.
What if you're starving and all you have is two different foods that you hate? Right? Are you consenting to be in that position?
No, you're not.
Right? But can you still make a choice?
If you're mentally deficient and you don't know food from a rock, then you can't make a choice. No, there's no choice.
But
to be
even
made.
children can understand obedience and disobedience. So from the mental frame of a child, the woman can make the choice to obey or to be rebellious. That's the choice. Obey or don't obey.
So we're gonna get into the Q&A in a minute.
Great.
Okay, all right, we'll just go into it now. All right, so from WWBA Advocate, does Stardust care that Western kind didn't consent to being white erased?
Whoa.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Does Stardust care that Western kind didn't consent to being white erased?
White erased? Is that what they said?
Yeah, I'm guessing they're talking about white replacement.
I mean, some of them did, I guess, and some of them didn't.
Okay. All right, so from Anonymous, question for Stardust. Why has women's happiness been plummeting statistically decade on decade since their liberation? Also, women's emancipation wasn't allowed out of altruism, but out of money motivation from industrial capitalists to double the workforce.
I think that women's happiness may be less than it used to be, but you can still look and compare the happiness of stay-at-home moms versus the happiness of working women, and you'll find that that working women are much happier than stay-at-home moms.
Okay. Let's see here. All right. Stardust and leftists aren't disgusted by anything. Get real. Super chat. Thank you for that.
Disgusted by something.
Bustin' Boots said, Britt asked Stardust if she'll marry me. I'll give her a ring pop. I want Stardust as my lifelong companion. Okay.
No, thank you.
No. Pass. Okay. General Zoomer said, Stardust proves that women are childlike. She's not even sentient. Okay. Let's see if we have anything here. Not asking that one. Let's see if there's anything I can pull from it. Okay, I'll do they want the father question. What's your relationship with your father like?
Can I decline to answer?
Sure, yeah, you can decline to answer anything you guys want.
Okay.
And Anonymous, somebody said that they love you, Big Tech.
Thank you. I love you too. Stardust, why'd you decline to answer that question?
Because I don't like to give out personal information. So.
Can't you just speak in general terms about your relationship with your father?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't want to.
But why?
Because I don't want to.
Why don't you want to?
Because I don't want to.
You don't know why you don't want to?
Because I don't want to.
Yeah, but that's not a reason why you don't want to.
Well, I've made a decision. I made a decision that I don't want to. And
yeah, and I'm asking why you made that decision. I'm asking for the reason.
I don't care to give you a reason. So.
Oh, got it. Super secret?
Not really. I just don't care to give you a reason.
Got it. Yeah.
All right.
Typical.
I'm sorry. Keep going. We might be able to take on some pop-on questions, but if it's through StreamYard. We're not doing it through Discord, so you'd have to DM me. I just sent it to BC Covington. Remember that Stardust is on YouTube, so if you are asking questions, to keep in the YouTube TOS. If you don't, then we won't be able to have you back on. We want people who are on YouTube or Twitch or streaming on Twitch to want to come back. And if people are breaking TOS for them, that's going to make them not want to come back. So even if we don't have that kind of TOS, they do, and we should all respect that. Okay, so hold on. All right, what you got?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Hey.
can hear you.
What's up? Yeah, so just first that you were asked about consent and decisions and why do you have a concern that Western civilization weren't asked about to be white replaced? And what was your answer again? Some did, some didn't.
I guess, yeah. I mean, some people in Western society decided to have slaves. You know, some people didn't.
No. That's not what we're talking about with white replacement, not slavery.
Okay, what are you talking about then?
We're talking about what everyone knows what we're talking about, and you've been in these debates before, so you should know. We're talking about mass immigration of non-whites over the past century into white countries, not bringing over slaves.
Okay, so even that, I would say some people have chosen and some people haven't.
So what's that based on? And could you give me an amount? Was the 1%?
I don't know. I don't know who. I don't know the percentage. I just know that
It's just a way of being ambiguous in
Do-
order to
do you-
lie
do
and
you
evade
wanna-
the
do
true
you-
answer to the question.
Do you want
I can
to?
answer it.
Do you
If
want?
you don't
Do you
know, I
want
can
to?
answer it for you. I can
Yeah.
answer it for you.
Sure. Go ahead, BC Covington.
Well, yeah. So in America, the main driver of it was the 1965 Immigration Act.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what Ted Kennedy had to tell the 90% white American majority in order
What
to
did he
have
tell
it?
them?
He said that it would not cause demographic shift.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like, now, why would he tell that to white America if they were okay with white replacement in America?
I don't know. I don't know all of this history behind this.
No, I do. Doesn't that
okay.
sound like something that you would have to tell a population that wasn't into it?
Maybe I thought we were talking about whether women are property, though. This is kind of off topic.
Is your memory that bad?
Well, no. If we wanted to talk about like white replacement, we could, but I would rather save that for another time when I actually have
That's fine, but there was
looked
a
at the
question
stuff
asked
around
you-
it.
There was a question asked you before about
Yes,
consent.
and I answered you.
No, relax. There was
Okay.
a question asked you before I popped on about consent and Western civilization not consenting to white replacement, and you said, "Oh, well, some did."
Okay.
Now you're admitting you don't know, and I'm telling you I do. We did not consent. There's no nation that's ever.
Some people did. Okay, maybe initially some people didn't consent, but some people did. Some people did consent to having more workers in the country.
No, again, that's not at all. There's been no nation ever that has consented to their own replacement, whether it's because of more workers or not. Every single nation, including America, wants their posterity to.
What is replacement to you?
In the present or the future, a different nation or people is greater in numbers than the host nation, than the people that made it up at that time. So a nation's job is to reproduce itself so that the future generations of that nation take over as they die off. So it's one continuous nation. Replacement is when another nation comes in and replaces them. And
another nation or just different people?
Same thing.
It's not the same thing.
When we're talking about nation states, yes, it's another nation. Yes.
Nation is the word nature.
These are individuals.
Natural.
These are
No.
These are individuals who are coming over, right?
People of a different nature.
Not to replace us, which
not to replace, to contribute to the economy, to be part of America as well.
Yeah, but that's not what's happened. First of all, that's never what's happened, and also it's now it's mass immigration to the numbers of actual just numerically replacing. Plus, it's political replacement because they get the right to vote as do all their children. and it's economic replacement.
Do you think that the mixing of people in the country is replacement?
It's not just. First of all, yes. First of all, it's bad. Second of all, yes, that's replacement. And third of all, it's getting to the point of
why is it replacement? Everybody's
Why is it replacement?
the demographic is not changing that much. Then if everybody's mixing,
we went from 90% white America to a guaranteed minority in 80 years. That's never happened to any country in the history ever.
You're only a minority if you consider like if you're following the one drop rule, right?
No, and also this was 90%. When we were 90% white, that was 90%, 100% white people. We are now going to be under 50%, 100% white people. That's like saying, oh well, we're going to have like India. If you include like people who are a quarter Indian, will still like no. This is no nation.
Why wouldn't you consider them quarter? Why wouldn't you consider somebody who's a quarter white as white?
No nation ever has voluntarily asked to go from a supermajority to a minority in their own country for any reason. And your whole thing about consent, we didn't consent.
Right.
So
but
true.
Mixed race people do consent, right? Like people mixing races, right? They do consent. They're consenting to be with each other. They're consenting to reproduce.
Yes, but America
right?
was 90%. America was 90% white and was on pace.
They're still white. They're still white. They're just part white.
We're not being demographically replaced by mixed race people. We're being demographically replaced by non-whites.
Okay, what is that? What does non-whites mean?
Oh my God, you're so fucking retarded.
I mean, no, you're...
See, she just pretends to not know what things mean in order to avoid the truth.
No, I'm not trying to pretend. I think we have...
Yeah, you
I
are.
think we have different ideas of what...
No, you don't.
Yes,
you're
we
just
do.
lying. You're just lying.
Yes, we do. Big
no,
tech...
you can pretend you're not lying, but you're
tech,
lying by ambiguating.
Okay, Shrek, please shut the fuck up, okay?
Are you white?
Am I white? No, I am not.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
How about you shut the fuck up, donkey? You shut up.
Actually,
Shrek doesn't have to shut up.
You're pretty good with that. So I could possibly.
You look like a donkey.
I do have, I think, some French in me, but I don't know what the percentage is. So it's possible.
Okay, so how do you know that?
What do you mean? I'd have to take a test or something.
Are you saying that you are saying that if you are white, you are able to tell based on past ancestry?
Yeah, I would have to do a test or something.
Okay, so this country was before 90% completely European peoples. Even today, actually, 98% of white Americans are 100% white because we had such a culture that was against race mixing.
Okay.
Now that number is going down and being replaced, and it was out without our consent. There's been no country ever there's been no nation. By nation, I mean a people. An ethno-linguistic group or a racial linguistic group that occupies a state and a territory, that's a nation, that has consented to elites replacing them.
Except when they mix with each other, right?
Yeah, but our natural mixing would have been less than 1%, and it would have been 90% white, less than 1%.
What is natural mixing?
Like without elite force of bringing in people and pushing propaganda and all that stuff. If it was just left to our own, we would have remained.
Do you think that white people in America can trace their European lineage back really well?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So like Germans and Italians and other white Europeans didn't mix together?
No. Oh no. So there are like half German.
Hey, what's a white European? I don't know what white is.
Yes, there are like half Irish, half Anglos, sure.
Mm-hmm. So race mixing is okay as long as it's people with a certain skin tone. If it's somebody else, then it's not okay.
Do you think race mixing within a race is race mixing?
Are Italians were Italians considered white? Were Italians considered white? Were Irish considered white?
Yes, during white immigration, they were granted automatic citizenship. There were 400,000 Irish people at the founding of America, all granted citizenship.
A lot of people didn't consider Irish people white.
They didn't consider them Anglo. They did consider them European.
And not white.
No, they did. They considered them white.
They did not consider them white.
Hey, Stardust. Are Kenyans black?
They were
Hold on,
considered.
sorry.
They were considered POC.
Let me. Are Kenyans black?
Uh,
Kenyans.
if we're going by what black means in America, black usually means
Yeah.
that you can't trace,
Are they black?
You can't trace an ancestor directly to Africa, to a specific part of Africa.
So
I mean,
Kenyans aren't black.
they're Kenyan, I guess.
Are they?
Technically,
Are
they're
they black? Are they black? Or are they not?
Are they African?
No. Are they black? Yeah. Fine. Are they African? Are Kenyans black and Congolese? Are they black too? Are they the same race?
Look, she's not going to answer. Look,
Yeah,
point-
exactly.
No,
Because
no.
you know what black is and you know what white is.
No,
You do know, and you pretend you
Africans,
don't.
Africans who are in America a lot of the time will say that they're not black, right?
Yeah, for Gibbs or for like, whatever special treatment, but no.
Or
and
because they
No.
just don't like African Americans because they act stupid.
also this
They don't wanna be associated.
propaganda about the Irish and the Italians were not considered white in America is just not true. They weren't considered WASPs, which is true. They were Catholic and they were not Anglo, but 1790 onwards, we had white-only immigration, meaning if you could become a citizen, naturalized citizen, if you were considered white. The Irish from the 1700s all the way through the 1900s were the largest immigrant group, next to Germans, and then the Irish were after. There was no special.
Just get more white immigrants then, if you're so concerned about it.
Why don't we stop immigration and have white people replace ourselves, like we did for centuries?
When
I
a,
don't
when
know.
a
What
boat
are
is
you doing
sinking,
about
you don't.
it?
When a boat's sinking, you don't put more air in. You stop the water from coming in.
But wait, Stardust, what would be is there something like evil about that, about what we did for centuries? How about the 1924 to 1965 era of America?
This is a debate about women being property,
It's
not
about consent.
It's
about
not
You turned
about
it into
consent. It's
consent.
about
You turned it
women
into
being
that.
property.
No, you dug this hole, Stardust. You're gonna
It's
fucking
not.
get buried in
It's
it.
not.
Okay.
It's not a hole.
We can return to
There's
that
not a
topic.
hole. BC Covington, if you want, you can go ahead and maybe advocate for more white immigrants. I don't care. I don't give a
No,
fuck either way. I think
I
it's
want
very
zero
well
immigrants.
demonstrated that you're okay with white people mixing. You're just not okay with anybody else mixing. So I
No,
think that
I
speaks
want-
plenty. That speaks plenty to what I'm saying here. You're totally fine with any other white race coming in and mixing with the local population. You just don't like it when it's a different.
No,
if it's a different
I
race.
didn't say that.
So
I
you know
said-
what? If that's the case, then either
raising
go
your voice
ahead,
'cause you're mad.
advocate for
Yeah.
immigration to stop,
Spam,
or advocate
spam,
for
spam the conversation.
more white
Spam, spam,
people to
spam.
be immigrated in.
Spamming.
But either way, there are a bunch of
you
different
listen- how about
things.
you ask me?
There are a bunch of different things that you can
I'm
propose
just
as
gonna
a
raise my voice
solution.
into this high,
but-
shrill pitch, and I'm gonna put words in your mouth, and I'm gonna reframe it in
Big
this
Tech,
level of
Big Tech,
talk.
do you want to let people finish? The question wasn't for you.
No,
How about you
not
ask
really.
me?
Nah, don't
How about you
wanna.
ask me
Okay,
what I
all right,
advocate
Big Tech.
for?
Like, BC, if you
about
want,
you
there are a
ask me what I
bunch of
advocate for?
different solutions you can take, and
How about you ask me what I
I'm
advocate
We
for?
let-
very
yeah, let us
happy.
listen.
I'm very happy for you to take all of those. I'm not going to stop you from doing all of
How about you
advocating
ask
for
me
your
what I advocate
positions.
for instead of telling me what I advocate
Well,
for?
I'm waiting for you to tell me
Yeah.
what you advocate
No,
for.
you were just babbling. You weren't waiting. But
Mhm.
yeah, I advocate
Yeah,
for
true.
no immigration and white Americans to replace ourselves with increased marriage and birth rates.
Let's
Okay.
go.
All right.
So, all right. Thank you for coming on, BC.
Yeah, and for the
Based-
women thing, stay-at-home moms are way happier and healthier than
They're
working
not.
moms. That's verifiable.
So
They're
true.
not. That's
Lie.
They are.
that's not
No.
true. It's not
You're
true.
Yeah,
not
when they're-
happy.
When they're
They're
like
not.
you, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're unhappy.
BC, you want
Yeah.
to tell people
I'm
where they
very
can find you if
happy.
you have somewhere?
Yeah, you can find me. I don't know, nowhere. I'm not really
All
a
right.
streamer. I'm just a guy, a white American who is dunking on Browns.
All right. Sounds
Duncan.
good. Good night.
Okay.
Some brown.
Yo.
Okay, and
Fucking
so
racist, dude.
racist.
Damn.
All right, so we also got a few other questions in here, and we can kind of continue this until Nick and Haas get here. They'll be here soon. Although both of them can be a little late sometimes, so we'll see. Alright, so Drum Bass World says, Stardust, why did you lie about the study of stay-at-home moms? What
didn't lie.
What you said is a lie from feminists. The study actually shows depression is much lower for stay-at-home women who can afford it. It's only more stressful if they are poor and stressed.
Oh.
I can link the-
Oh.
Are you done, Big Tech?
Oh. No. He's got blown out.
I think if anybody,
done!
no, I didn't. Okay, I can link the study to you, Brittany, if you'd like, and you can link it to them. But big tech, I think, is actually a great advocate for why men should maybe be property instead of women, because he acts like a fucking dog. I've never seen a man who acts more like a fucking dog than this guy here. All right, I will DM it to you on Discord, Brittany, if you'd like.
And we got another one from Anonymous, says, what do you mean by replacing? Thus is a hatchling argument where leftists pretend to know nothing. Morgoth's review did a great video on that topic. Okay. And then from Rabbi
People in my chat are comparing big tech to Buck Angel. Do you know Buck Angel?
Who dat? Is he cool?
Yeah, he's cool. You should check him out. Check out Buck Angel.
Sweet. Sounds pretty cool.
Okay, bless you. Welcome back, by the way, Justin. Hope you have your onion for later.
Yeah, I can go grab it if you want me to do
What's that noise? Is that you, Justin?
I don't think so.
You guys heard that, right? Like a loud buzzing. Wait, yeah, it's Justin. Justin, it's you. You know, fix them. Yeah, it's for sure
Well,
you.
if I can find another mic.
Okay. Oh well, hold on. With Chief Chumpster's here. I guess he wanted to ask a question too. So go ahead, Chief.
Hey, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Because this whole conversation kind of shifted from like the woman thing to more about, I guess, consent. And I think that is a good question for abortion. I'm curious what you think about abortion, Stardust. Maybe that's a good thing or not.
I don't know that it's like necessarily a good thing. It's just something that should be that is necessary to be available for women. I think we should, obviously encourage people to use protection whenever possible. And in most cases, advocate for people to be safe when they're having those types of relations. But I think it's something that still needs to be available for people.
Hold on. This Buck Angel person, is this a female to male tranny?
No.
Are you sure? I just looked up the Twitter. Problematic AF, transsexual man.
I think he looks a lot like you. I think they were right about that.
No.
Is this a tranny? Is this a trans person? And you did like a little undermining.
I mean, look,
thing.
I think you should look them up. Look at Google image them. I think he looks a lot like you. So.
Bald head and a beard. Yeah, looks just like me. Yeah, but cool. Thanks.
Much more masculine, though.
Yo, testosterone injections, and I cut my tits off, and I'm cover myself in tattoos, and I could be this freak. Based.
So, Chief, did you get
weird? What a freak!
No, because I'm curious. So she's all for consent and all this type of stuff. But I don't know. Like, do you think like is there a limit for abortion for age, for consent, or anything for the baby, or really anything?
So in an ideal world, it would be great if we could get like those artificial wombs, right? And then people who didn't want to have children could just give their child for that, right? But we don't live in that world yet. And so I think
holy crap.
So
this tranny does look like me.
Oh, jeez.
This is crazy.
Yeah, he's just way more masculine. That's the only difference.
This
yeah.
sucks.
So.
Oh man.
Oh. All right. Well,
no,
okay.
I hate this. My day is ruined.
No, poor big guy.
Honestly though,
I wish I never came here.
I can't believe you're all for like consent and all of that when you're like pretty much you're all for like taking that consent away from babies. And I mean, it's not like a woman's choice here. Women choosing to really kill a baby. You think that?
Well, I don't. It depends on where you think that that the baby has sentience, right? And where you think that them being a human begins, right? And so obviously we're going to have very different ideas of where that starts. I think that obviously like we should create all of the circumstances necessary for people to feel supported if they get pregnant by accident, and things like that. But the reality of the situation is there are plenty of cases where people don't feel safe taking care of an unexpected pregnancy. People don't feel like they have the ability to do that. Yeah, so it just is what it is. Until we have better
Stardust,
technology.
we gotta like begin to wrap this up.
Okay.
Chapter, why don't you tell people where they can find you, because we're gonna have to give them their closing statements, because we gotta wait for.
Yeah, you can find me on Telegram, Gab, Cozy, of course, and I guess True Social. I wasn't even used to that thing, but I mean, no one really used to that. So, but no, I mean, I think that big tech won this debate handily. It was a pretty solid performance there from him.
Thanks, bro.
It was pretty great. So thanks for talking. I hope you have a better relationship with your father, the Stardust. I hope it's possible. Hope that happens. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, so let's do closing statements, and then we'll just leave it with the three of us until Nick and Haas get here. All right, so why don't we have, who wants to go first? Any particular person want to go first?
I went first last time. Stardust can go first.
All right, Stardust, why don't you go first?
Okay. So despite having no legal identity, historically women were never seen as slaves, let alone property. Women were subservient to their male counterparts, but still held status as human beings. And historically, women weren't allowed to own property and exercise their own autonomy. Yeah, they still were seen as human beings. Turning back the clock would be one thing, but big tech doesn't just want to turn the clock back. He wants to reinvent history and women's roles completely. He wants to reinvent how women are viewed, not just in a societal sense, but in a theocratic sense. And he wants to give up gender equality. I think that's bad. Gender equality doesn't just benefit women. It benefits men as well. There have been studies to show that gender equality benefits men's marital satisfaction, their physical health, and their relationships with their children. So it's not just for the benefit of women. Gender equality and a woman's place in society as human beings benefits the whole family. And if you're pro-family, then you should be pro-gender equality.
Okay. Tech.
There are many things in history that I would like to retell the story of, if you know what I mean. And one of them is the relationship between men and women. We've got off track with this idea that women should be free and liberated to do as they choose. They should not. Women and children are happy when they are under the protection, guidance, leadership of a man. When the man is leading the home, when the man is leading the world, everybody's safe and happy. That's the right way. Men will have conflict with men, but they shouldn't have conflict with women. If we could eliminate the conflict with women through changing women into being obedient rather than rebellious, every child in the world would benefit from this. If you care about children, then you need to practice obedience to men, because conflict between men and women is a massive source of unneeded
Remember
strife
to like and
disharmony
subscribe,
in the
guys.
human race. So, long story short, by the way, I don't know, Stardust, if you're still listening, there's still hope for you. There's hope for everybody. It's called redemption. All you need to do is repent. Realize I've been disobedient. I've been rebellious. I've cared about myself too much. I focused on my own sense of self-gratification. I've tried to focus on myself as being special, and I've wanted to seem special to a man. If you get over that and connect with a higher cause and purpose for your life, and realize that your life is about serving others, serving your community, serving your brothers and sisters, serving your nation, serving your children, serving everyone before yourself through submission to a man, you'll find a man, God willing, who will lead you in the right way, and you'll be happier than you've ever been. That goes for every woman in the world. It's literally the right way. Men, Live up to your calling. You have the most responsibility. All of the responsibility is on your shoulders. You're not responsibility for the mistakes that women make when they are rebellious, but you are responsible for taking responsibility for all that you can. That's the difference. So I love all of you guys. Thank you for watching. I'm Big Tech, and I'll see you around here sometimes.
All right. Thank you guys so much for doing this. This has been fun.
Thank you for having
Always
us.
good time. All right. Good night.
Good
Thanks,
night.
guys.
All right. So we are okay. So we're now going to be waiting for Oz and Nick.
Okay. Chat, what do you think?